Coming up on show 838, sales of the VW ID.3 start next week. I've got all the details for you. Stick around, I'll tell you more. Plus, Fisker going public to bring their SUV to market. Tesla's Model Y gets a new long-range version. And what are the origins of the Cadillac names, like Lyric, their EVs? We find out. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. Welcome to EV News Daily, the edition for Monday, 11th of June. My name is Martyn Lee, going through every EV story so you don't have to. You know, it just struck me that there is a bunch of good EV news around over the next 7 days or so. Today we hear that Daimler is ramping up the EQC to about 8,000 a month. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, BMW officially unveiled the iX3 all-electric. There is the new Nissan Ariya. The launch is Wednesday on the 15th. VW putting the ID.3 on sale, and that's next Monday, the 20th. And so, lots of good news around at the moment, lots of reasons to feel good. The electric car maker Fisker is going public. Another mega money deal in the world of EVs to show how much kind of heat there is around EVs at the moment. So much, some would say, speculative money being thrown at it and hoping to win big and a big reward. Electric car maker Fisker will go public, and they're doing it with a merger with a blank check company. How does this work? Let's find out on the show today. A valuation of $2.9 billion. I know. So a company that isn't going to be putting their SUV electric car on sale until 2022 is valued at $3 billion. According to Reuters reporting last week, a special purpose acquisition company. Called Spartan Energy. They were leading the bidding war amongst the blank check companies for Fisker. Now, a blank check company is a shell company that raises money through an IPO to buy an already operating company, and typically within a couple of years. The Fisker deal is expected to close in Q4. It'll provide Fisker with $1 billion in gross proceeds and $500 million from existing and new investors as well, the proceeds of which being used to bring the Ocean to market. The Fisker Ocean SUV, all electric, and here in 2022. Fisker said the startup is in talks with other companies, including Magna, about building the actual car itself. They don't want to build a factory. They don't want to build all of the stuff that goes into production lines. A company like Magna know exactly what they're doing in building smaller runs of cars. Yes, we're looking at you, Jaguar I-Pace. Don't make the Jaguar in Great Britain. They make it at Magna. And they do a very good job with it as well. And so looking at a third-party company to actually build the thing for them rather than putting up factories themselves. Now, let's move on to the headline story today. Sales of the VW ID.3 are going to start next Monday on July 20th. And if you're wondering, if you thought it was already on sale, well, there was some early reservation. 30,000 people got in line. And now I think they've processed all of those. Now they're opening it to general sale. 4 weeks after the start of ordering for the pre-bookers, Volkswagen is opening the ordering system to the general public, to you and I. Next Monday, customers in European countries can choose from 7 pre-configured ID.3 models. So by the sounds of that, again, I've not exactly asked VW to confirm that statement because there's 7 different pre-configured configurations. I don't think there's going to be too much on the options list, as in, I think you just go with, this is the configuration, it's a common spec, and you choose which one you want to do. You can do it at dealerships, you can do it online, I believe. All 7 of the pre-configured models will be eligible for many state subsidies, like Germany, for instance, 9,480 euros in Germany. So let's call it 10 grand off a car. Subsidies also available for the ID.3 in many European countries. So what have they done? They have done the... let me start in... Can I start in price order? Yeah. So there is the Pro, the Life, the Style, the Business, the Family, and the Tech. So those are the first ones with the 58 kilowatt hour battery. So I would say small battery, but it's actually the medium one because there's going to be an even smaller battery in time. So we'll call it the medium-sized battery. That'll do 420 kilometers of range, and it starts at 35,500 euros before incentives. So these are the ones that charge at 100 kilowatts, which is good enough. 11 kilowatt onboard AC charging. It's the Pro, the Life, the Style, the Business, the Family, and the Tech. Now, until I can get my teeth into what actually all of these things mean, I'll try and explain it to you. 6 out of the 7 models which you can order next Monday will arrive in October. They are based on the basic model. Now, the basic model is the Pro. And it has that 58 kilowatt hour battery, which is net, by the way. That's usable. And it gets you the 420 kilometers of range. You get 150 kilowatts of power in terms of the motor. With delivery in October, customers receive a software update for 2 of the outstanding digital functions, those being App Connect and the head-up augmented reality display thing. And even then, that augmented display head-up thing is... you can see I'm good with this. Is only available on 2 of them. There's the Tech and another one as well. And that doesn't even come till next year. All models delivered after next year come with all the functions already in place. And yes, that is the long-running saga of the VW ID.3 software. And yes, I'm well aware for my American listeners, this is all mood juice anyway, because you're not getting the car. But you will get the ID.4, so it is kind of interesting. Well, the 7th pre-configured model, I've mentioned 6 of them. The 7th one is called the Tour. That can be ordered Monday as well, next Monday on the 20th, based on the 4-seater model. And again, some of the ID.3s are 5-seaters and some of them are 4-seaters. I gather it's to do with weight, but I'm trying to work that out. That has the bigger battery pack. Now, it has a 77 kilowatt hour battery pack, usable, that's net, has 550 kilometers of range, has 125 kilowatt DC fast charging, starts at 41,000 euros, and that is called the Tour. Already equipped with all of the features that you would expect on a car. They call it the Tour because it's meant for long journeys. Head-up display, LED headlights, comfort package, 12-way massage seats, and all the driver assistance stuff they can load into it. 19-inch wheels on that. And, you know, that is a very, very long range. 550 kilometers range on an EV with a price tag of 40,000 or 41,000 euros. But wait, if you do live in a country like Germany, where there are, we have incentives here, but it's $3,000. Germany's 10. So all of a sudden, you are looking at what is a drive-home price of 31,000 euros. Hang on a minute, all of a sudden it becomes a lot more attractive. And so I get the arguments about, oh, well, maybe the software isn't fully complete and all of that kind of stuff. But really, Tesla have been doing this. They've been putting beta stuff out there. Autopilot is still in beta. So all of a sudden you go, okay, well, I can do 550 kilometers. That's 341 miles for 31,000 euros after you get your 10 grand off. I think that's a really good price. Now, if you're in the market for a Golf-sized car, if you're in the market for the ID.3, that's really good. That's exactly where lots of people are going to start and end the decision. They'll be like, okay, here's all the cars that I could buy. Well, I got the Model 3, got the Model Y, and I could do this and this and this, and actually is there Polestar? Well, no, that's 50 grand. That's a lot of money. It's a bigger car as well. It's a bigger form factor, bigger segment. Hang on a minute, I can get a Golf-sized car for 31 grand that'll do me 340 plus miles and charge really quickly. Okay, so, for a long time we've wanted affordable EVs. I know that these prices are 41,000 without incentives, but you do have to factor in those state incentives. So I'd love to know what you think about the ID.3 and, of course, the forthcoming ID.4 and the other cars on that platform. And are they only attractive whilst the incentives are in place or not? Well, again, let me know your thoughts. Now, Volkswagen is also in the news today. They're replacing their head of software development. A newspaper called Handelsblatt reported yesterday. As VW wrestles with the transition to EVs, according to Autoblog, the newspaper said that Christian Senger, he is a former BMW manager, and he has been running until recently a division of VW that was only set up mere weeks ago. And it's a software unit. It's called Car.Software. And VW set this up as a bit of a skunk, not skunk works, but a separate bit of the company to develop software for their cars, as software becomes increasingly important in automotive. And he, according to the newspaper, is going to be replaced after clashes with company bosses. Now, he was part of a network of managers that the chief executive, Herbert Diess, brought in to reform VW post the 2015 Dieselgate scandal, and Herbert Diess came in. You've seen him and Elon Musk on stage together. They've both spoken effusively at times about each other. Elon has put tweets out really rating what Herbert Diess is doing with VW, delighted that a big manufacturer like VW threw its weight behind electric cars. As you know, he's also had a role change recently, and the new manager, who is now taking VW forward, has not exactly been critical of combustion engines. In fact, said some very flattering things about spending money on developing combustion cars. So, a cultural shift at VW. Is it a cultural move away from electric cars, or are they just moving the time frames back? That was the initial reaction when someone who is as pro-EV as Herbert Diess, and he had kind of that overarching, overseeing not only the VW brand, but of course the VW group, bought in his team from BMW when he moved across, and now another one of those, by the look of it, has gone. It's really interesting, the kind of political, and it's not, I'm not doing this to bash VW or to talk about the internal politics of a car company, who really cares, but it is about two things. Firstly, it's about the importance of software. So if they're not satisfied with the software issue, clearly it's a number one priority for any car maker, but VW as well. So, you know, I raise this point because I just want to, you know, always talk about how important software is in an EV, and you know, and also, what does it mean for the speed at which a company the size of VW is going to electrify? Watch this space. Let's talk about Tesla and Elon confirming that the price adjustments I talked about on yesterday's podcast with the Model Y are not the only changes we're going to see. The Model Y standard range. Did you ever watch the launch event for Model Y? If you didn't, let me paint the picture. Elon on stage with the car, as always, pretty normal situation for a car launch at Tesla. Big projector overhead, and they listed all of the Model Ys that are going to be on sale and when they go on sale. And in 2021, there was going to be a Model Y standard range, the base model. Elon just said it's not coming. It was going to be spring 2021. It was going to be $39,000. It's not coming. Elon's cancelled it. According to Slash Gear, range for the car was going to be under 250 miles by the EPA measure, which Elon has described as, and this is his phrase, unacceptably low. Indeed, he explained the Model Y long-range single motor will be arriving in a few months. Well, a few is 3, so let's say October. The Model Y long-range single motor should be affordable, Musk argued, while keeping it the product as excellent as always with very long range, and that's going to be over like a single motor, long range Model Y over 300 miles. We know that. And so, you know, originally that entry-level Model Y was going to be 39 grand or maybe 40 grand. There's always sort of delivery charges and stuff. Estimated EPA range of 230. When they showed it on screen back in the day at the Model Y launch, it didn't seem unacceptably low at the time. That's his phrase. I'm just using back unacceptably low today. Now look, time's moved on. Maybe the spec is just no longer what Elon wants to sell. He doesn't want to sell a car that does 230 miles. 0 to 60 was going to be 5.9. Top speed was going to be 120 miles an hour. 18-inch wheels. Will we ever see the base version of the Cybertruck? You have to ask. Tesla have got form with the $35,000 Model 3. Yes, I know it was technically on sale. I know that if you stood on one leg while the wind was blowing east and went to a Tesla dealer, not called dealers, you could get the $35,000 Model 3 if you jumped through enough hoops. It was never really on sale, was it? I've just infuriated some Tesla fan somewhere. However, and that's fair enough. Time moves on. Things change. However, makes you wonder if the the entry-level Cybertruck will also never make it, because they've done the same thing with the Model Y. Before it even hit the market, they've just taken it off. So maybe at the time it got some press for the entry price of 39 grand, and now it's done its job. Maybe it was never meant to arrive. Maybe I'm wearing my cynical pants today. However, that phrase that 230 miles is unacceptably low, I wonder what that's all about, because in a way, Tesla are, they've got Battery Day coming on September 22nd. Are they just trying to shift public opinion that 250's the minimum? Because all of a sudden, if they can influence public opinion that actually what you really need is 300 or 400 miles, 500 miles in an EV, and they can sway public opinion enough with the enormous presence they have in the EV world and influence, all of a sudden that's a bit of a problem for the other car makers as well, who are all making EVs around 200-300 miles. Well, I'm just saying, I wonder what it could be. It kind of raises the tide of perceptions, if you know what I mean. Interesting stuff. Okay, moving on. Test driving an obscure car that was originally made in 1997 was the reason that Elon got into EVs. Back in 2003, long interested in sustainability in EVs, he test drove the T0, the very first ever T0. And I don't know this story. Didn't have doors, didn't have a roof, didn't have airbags, didn't have cooling, wasn't safe, wasn't reliable. And according to CNBC, the car that was built in 1997, by the time Elon drove it, and it was built by a small Californian company called AC Propulsion, I knew that much, was essentially an early prototype of the Roadster, according to Wired. Now, the AC Propulsion founder, Alan Coccioni, would I say his name, and the CEO, Tom Gage, they were technology visionaries, according to Wired magazine. But they didn't have the entrepreneurial stuff that Elon had to take it to market, and Elon did. So he was inspired, drove the car, loved it, asked them if he could take it to market. He'd just founded SpaceX at the time, actually, so he had a lot on his plate. They said yes, agreed, but they wanted him to speak to another small startup company called Tesla Motors. They're founders of that, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, were also talking to them about the T0, and then that's where the bit of the story picks up that I knew, where he had his the money that he had from PayPal, which eBay bought for 1.5 billion back in 2002, and Elon put 6 and a bit million into Tesla back in 2004 to take this onwards into the Roadster. But I didn't know it all started with the car called the T0. You probably did, but I didn't know that. I thought I'd pass it on. Interesting fact. A car that started its life in 1997. Well, a former VP of Tesla says nimbleness is their secret sauce. And it's kind of a theme running through today's podcast, actually, talking about VW being a massive, established legacy OEM and some of the struggles they're going through, and comparing that to what is a new company, Tesla, but is also an established one. Well, Philippe Chain, I think that's how I would say his surname. It's how it's spelt, as in bicycle chain. Philippe is a former VP of quality at Tesla, and he's been giving some insight into Tesla in a new business article. An example of the nimbleness, he says, is how they modified a crucial part within 5 days of that part failing a NHTSA test, the NHTSA. And he also used to work at Renault prior to Tesla, and after he worked at Audi. And he said this, and I quote, "What took a single meeting and 5 days at Tesla would have required a 6-month process at Renault or Audi. It would have started with a thorough investigation going back to the source of the error, looking for the person to blame internally, investigating a possible blunder of a supplier, etc. Then a politically delicate sequence would have unfolded to set up a series of meetings and workshops. Multiple hierarchical strata would have been involved, going up probably to the very top of the organization. Whereas at Tesla, 1 meeting, 5 days, fixed it." And also, he said this, and I quote, "Another good example is the long-term durability evaluation of a car. When I discussed it with Elon," he says, "I told him our engineers' calculations led to at least 1 million equivalent miles of driving required before launching the car. A 6-month phase required to discover potential weaknesses and fix them. My request was actually very limited in regards to the industry practices. German manufacturers don't release a car that hasn't done 10 million kilometers in 2 winters. Elon, in his customary laconic way, answered, "Okay, do it, but we're not delaying the launch for it." but we might encounter issues that will require some modifications of the production models. Elon says, yeah, I know, but we'll make the changes afterwards if we have to, even if it involves recalling some cars. And for the rest, we'll adjust them by pushing out over-the-air upgrades. End quote. A couple of interesting insights there into the business side from someone who worked with Elon in the very early days about how he got things done. And they did get cars out there that did have some problems. Equally, there are people who've got, Model S's in the first run of 1,000 that are faultless. Equally, there's others that they've had to update. There's recalls. It's a bit of a running joke that if you buy a Tesla, just make sure that on the day you collect it, you book a service centre appointment for a couple of weeks forward, and they'll take it back and fix all the things that are wrong with it on handover day. I'm being slightly sarcastic, but semi-serious as well. Most people do that. They'll look at the car and go, well, that's wrong, and this bit of paint is scuffed, and you've scratched it here. And Tesla, to their credit, always, yep, fine, we'll fix it. They're getting them out the door as quick as they possibly can and dealing with it afterwards. So it's been their story all along. Really, really super interesting. Very, very quickly at the end of the podcast today, GM Authority website asked Cadillac about the origin of the name of their new EV, the Lyriq, the upcoming battery electric crossover. The global head of brand strategy, Phil Dauchi, explained 3 threads that went into the new name. One of them is that Cadillac, calling it a Cadillac Lyriq, gets more mentions in song lyrics than any other brand. It's a famous brand in culture, even among non-automotive brands. And he also mentioned that the name is rolled up with Cadillac's move to proper names, not alphanumerics, for their EVs. All their EVs will end in IQ. And as they push into EVs, the overhaul of their naming structure with the 2-letter suffix of IC means that Cadillac is bringing a different type of vehicle to the market, one that works in concert with man, nature and machine. He says, there's a bit of corporate gobbledygook for you. And he thinks that he's bullish on swaying the public with the product, adding that when you see the Cadillac Celestiq, brain and mouth not working, he says its size, presence and scale connote the emotion associated with the name. So there you go. That's where Cadillac Lyriq and Celestiq and all the other ICs that are coming for their electric cars. That's the theory behind it. So, if you would like to leave a comment on the YouTube show, feel free, more than welcome. If you want to leave a comment on email, please feel free, more than welcome. The address is hello@evnewsdaily.com, and I'll wait to hear from you. Well, there are 837 previous shows in the archive. They live online thanks to Patreon. The new shows come at you via the Patreon supporters. patreon.com/evnewsdaily is my page if you want to check it out and support the show. Premium partners are Phil Roberts of Electric Future, Brad Crosby, Avid Technology, Brightsmith Group for clean tech talent, Porsche of the Village in Cincinnati, Audi of Cincinnati East, Volvo Cars of Cincinnati East, now nationalcarcharging.com and allohacharge.com. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.